But the whole concept is to actually not just build the venture capital ecosystem in India, but also create a give back to build further LP ecosystem in India, not just from the existing pockets, but also create new pockets like
Yeah.
Comments, which are already there in the US and other markets.
This is a very significant moment for all of us, and that's why we are doing this live, and you'll know why. I'll straight hit to the main point. You invested 15 crores in 2015 in Purplle, and today that investment, you Vikram, your IV venture cap, IV Capital, has got now 330 crores out of that 15 crores that you invested. This is historic. This is all domestic capital. You have raised a domestic fund. Big moment from so many perspectives. Tell us about the deal. Tell us about the fund. Tell us about this 20x, 22x returns that you've got.
No, it's definitely a historic moment, Shraddha, and a lot of excitement, I would say. I would start by thanking the Purplle team, first of all. And I think they've done a phenomenal job. Manish, Rahul, Suyash, these all guys are rock stars. They've done a brilliant job. When I met them first in 2014, I started talking to them at that time. Very early stages, entrepreneurs who had no idea about beauty, but new technology. So they knew that this space can be captured through good use of technology and through a lot of capital efficiency. That is what excited me personally about this opportunity. And at that time, we had raised our first fund. I was earlier with Ajay Piramal, where I had set up India's first healthcare life sciences private equity fund in 2008. And this fund we set up with a very different concept. And it worked very well for us. And specifically in case of Purplle, where it has actually really done wonders for us. And the best part in this is our domestic investors, who are mainly Indian institutional investors, they've seen this kind of returns, I would think, for the first time in a venture capital kind of an outcome, which actually gives a lot of confidence, I would say, to these investors to now invest in this asset class.
Yeah.
Which I think I would say is a defining moment for the industry itself, which actually is quite exciting for me personally.
Vikram, just want to understand quickly from you about IvyCap Ventures, your fund. What does it all mean for domestic capital and people putting more money in funds like yours?
Yeah, I think it's a very important and relevant question, especially at this time, Shraddha. And I think at the time when we started, 2011 was the time. Prior to that, I had fundraising experience, also investment experience with a healthcare focused fund. My exposure to understanding the fact that there is a lot of domestic capital actually started with that fund. And that was a 400 crore size fund where I raised that capital from over 30 Indian institutions and a bunch of individual investors, which gave me a lot of confidence that if I could raise money in a market like 2008, when it was really a bloodbath everywhere, the concept of the healthcare as a sector and with the backing of the brand names I had at that time, it made a huge difference. But at the same time, one of the key learnings for me was that this whole concept of venture capital, one is there was a gap in that ecosystem where there were hardly any Indian VC funds, at that time. And the other thing is that, this whole business works on the connections of people, right? So whenever I met an IIT alumnus, when I was raising that fund, the connect was instant. Since I'm from IIT Delhi myself, I thought of this idea that we should actually build a platform for the IIT alumni. And that's where we came up with this IIT Alumni Trust, where the various alumni of IITs came on board. We raised our first fund at 240 crores, with majority of the capital coming from those institutions who had invested in the Purplle fund. They came back, reinvested with us. And a substantial part also came from the IIT alumni, which also helped us generate a lot of leads like Purplle, which are both IIT alumni themselves. So that concept has actually played out very well for us. So I'll also mention here, we also done, Shraddha, something for the first time, which is again validated, is we committed a significant part of our carry as give back, as endowment back to the IITs.
Wow.
And that's how the whole concept was conceptualized at that time. And now I think the time is coming when that give back will actually be tested. But there's hardly any endowment structured system in India. So we worked really hard to get the IIT Delhi Endowment Fund off the ground in 2019, when Honorable President launched it in October 2019 at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, where I was there personally to make a presentation to him. But the whole concept is to actually not just build the venture capital ecosystem in India, but also create a give back to build further LP ecosystem in India, not just from the existing pockets, but also create new pockets like e-commerce, which are already there in the US and other markets. So that is what gives me personally a lot of satisfaction, I would say.
What is most significant is that in India, now today, we are seeing returns, we are seeing people coming together, we are seeing people in, because the biggest narrative has been, oh, we don't see domestic money being invested in tech and startup space. So what you're saying is that this is now an example and successful example, and we should see more. Why not more institutes, more organizations doing that?
In fact, very recently there was a big win for the entire industry when the government announced that now the pension funds, even private pension funds, could actually invest up to 5% of their corpus in AIFs. So, which actually was a big win. But even for them, while they may have that capital to invest and the policy that allows them to invest, they will not invest unless they see the actual outcomes like these, as precedents in the industry. So I think something like this also gives them a lot of confidence to really start then looking at this asset class more favorably. So which is very exciting.
Yeah. Vikram, I want to ask you about Purplle and particularly about beauty e-commerce, right? Like, with Flipkart and everything, we said, okay, e-commerce is done, right? Like, because we've seen huge outcomes, we've seen that kind of scale. But now we're seeing that beauty e-commerce is gaining a lot more attention and a lot of D2C brands also coming. What do you have to say? What's your view on the space?
This, in fact, of course, we're coming from 2015 onwards when we actually took a bet in this space. We invested in even Clovia, which at that time was, just starting. In fact, after our investment is when we actually named the company Clovia. Has come a long way. And I would say the last year, the pandemic has actually contributed towards accelerated growth in this space, primarily because of this huge shift from offline to online. And those startups who were actually very focused on leveraging the technology or AI or other things to capture the persona of their consumer, and which actually Purplle has done brilliantly. In fact, right from the day one, this is what they were focused on, not just leveraging technology to really understand their consumers very well, but also being very capital efficient about it. Because other people would have scaled up their businesses, but would have used a multiplier of capital that Purplle would have used. So I think that's a very key thing and important thing to understand. Beauty as a segment, of course, is a huge segment, of course, very large industry, with the online component being just a very small penetration so far. But I think this acceleration, the speed of that penetration has substantially grown and is going to continue to grow over the next few years, which is actually going to give much more value to anybody who's actually, doing the right things in terms of, targeting their customer segments and going with the right products. I think the approach that Purplle has used, starting with the platform and then getting a private label mix into it, has actually worked really well. And we believe that will continue to be the model of the future for them.
And to everyone watching, look at this space. Look at this space closely. There's money to be made. And of course, here, Vikram Gupta from IvyCap Ventures invested 15 crores and has got 330 crores. And you still are invested in Purplle, right? You're still an investor.
So we had invested both from our fund one and fund two, and given the fact that we saw this opportunity that in fact, to be honest with you, we were not looking to sell our stake at this time. We just got an inbound interest. Somebody walked into my office and said, hey, are you interested to sell your stake in Purplle? I said, look, I never thought about it, but let me hear what is there. And it was very, very interesting offer. And I think and then we started thinking that if this is the case, then maybe it's a good time for us to actually make our investors feel good about it. And that's when we went to our IC, and they actually said makes sense. But fund two was just invested just about 2 years ago. And we don't have any urgency to sell our fund two stake, so we would want to continue to support the company. In fact, may even want to invest more as we go forward, because I think the company will continue to grow at a much accelerated pace.
What are some of the spaces and sectors or companies that you're looking at currently to invest? And this would be very useful for all the entrepreneurs watching this today.
So technically, Shradha, we are sector agnostic. We do have a bias towards D2C, consumer tech, health tech, B2B SaaS businesses. We invested in quite a few. We recently also invested in EdTech, which is a space we believe is going to scale up even more. And of course, there are other areas. In fact, we've also set up a small angel fund from where we are investing in deep tech companies at early stages, seed and pre-seed stage companies. And of course, agri-tech is another area we are investing in right now. So broadly, these are the areas when we are going out to the market to look for investment opportunities. But because our approach works, the concept of the alumni ecosystems working together, there's a lot of inbound deals that come to us where we evaluate them purely based on the people and the entrepreneurs and their passion and the problem they're solving and how big that problem is. So effectively, that's how 80% of our time we spend on the entrepreneur and the team, and then go deeper into what problem they're solving, the sector and the technology they have, and how they will scale and capital efficiency and things like those.
Now you're the man with so much of money and returns. What has money meant to you personally?
Venture capital is a business about managing third-party capital, right? So in fact, when I tell people that money sitting in my bank account is actually a liability for me, means is that, it should never be sitting in my account. It should be put to good use. Either it should have gone to the deal that we're investing in or the company we are investing in, or when it comes back, it should go back to the investors who put money as quickly as possible. So in fact, when the money came in yesterday, we made sure that within a day, every investor got the money back. Of course, there are few that may not have happened because of some logistics issues, but I think almost everybody got the money back just as soon as it came. So the idea here is that managing third-party money, there's a lot more responsibility on you to make sure it's put to the right use, and that's. But at the same time, I think it's a measure of the impact that you're creating, right? So I think it's a good measure when you, as you said, 22x on a 15 crore investment. Actually, it shows how much value you've actually created. And of course, again, I would here commend the efforts of the team and the way they have built it, and that's an amazing team. And that's all it is about, investing in right people, supporting them, backing them, and then of course making sure that try to bring whatever else you can to make sure you ease out, because entrepreneurs typically go through so many problems in their entire journey, And I think it's not just about the money that they want.
Yeah.
They want a lot more than that. I think these days, to be honest with you, Shraddha, and of course, you know this very well, I think there's a lot of capital floating around, looking for right investments. I think what makes a difference in the lives of the entrepreneurs is that there's a lot of value that comes with that money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of credibility that comes with that money. So I think that is what is important. And that's where we believe we make a difference as a fund with the backing of the IIT alumni ecosystem, institutional capital, which actually, again, we are very fortunate to have over 20 Indian institutions as our investors who actually would continue to back us going forward as well. And of course, once they have this kind of experience, so we believe that this is the defining moment for the industry and hopefully should continue to build a domestic venture capital ecosystem.